Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming. This webinar is about the Michigan Achievement Skills Scholarship. It's very similar to the webinar that we did in September. However, this time we're recording. We have a state budget, and we do have an update on, kind of the rollover of the programs. So it's going to be high-level overview, and then, some of the more information about this current year, and you know, where we are in the process. Thank you all for coming today, and we will try to send this out beginning next week. We know the invites just went out yesterday for this webinar. Our hope was that we would be recording this and sending it out, so you can also go back and reference this material as we go. Thank you again for coming today. So just kind of an overview of the presentation. We'll do a quick introduction of the Michigan Achievement Skills Scholarship Program. We'll talk about, the student eligibility. We'll talk about how career training programs are eligible. We'll talk about our MySSG software, and we'll actually we'll go through the manual of that software where we can show you some print screens and how that can be really useful for you. We'll talk about billing and student information. We'll talk about reporting, and then we'll also go over some important dates for this year. We'll try this to kind of send out important date information regularly this year. But really the most important date is the last date you can certify payments for this academic year. So we'll probably be talking about that a couple times. If we have time at the end, we'll do some questions and answers. So please use the Q&A button to put questions in as you have them, as we kind of go through the material. So I'm Alicia Cederberg. I'm the program administrator for the Office of Higher Education in the MiLEAP agency for the department for the state of Michigan. I'm joined by Don Florenci, who is the program coordinator. And just so you all are aware, the best place to get email responses and to answer questions and to inquire about students or change things in MySSG that maybe only the agency can do is our mass-myleap@michigan.gov email address. So I'll be encouraging everyone to use that email address whenever you have a question. Last time we spoke in September and did a webinar similar to this, we didn't have a state budget. We now do have a state budget, so this program is funded this year. The state budget made no changes to the program. So that's good. We have some updates about things with timeline that may make lives a little more confusing and easier. But as far as like the program, if you are a training provider that was with us last year, nothing has changed about the program this year. So the Michigan Achievement Skills Scholarship is part of a bigger scholarship package that the Michigan legislature has put together to invest in higher ed and ensure there's 3 distinct pathways to prosperity. The Michigan Achievement Scholarship is kind of the overall arching program. You may see some billboards, or if you're watching TV, particularly the Lions, you may see some commercials about the Michigan Achievement Scholarship. And usually within those commercials, it does bring up the 3 distinct pathways. One pathway is to go to 4-year colleges using the Michigan Achievement Scholarship. One way is to go to a community college where you get the Community College Guarantee, which is free community college tuition. And then there's our pathway, which is the Michigan Achievement Skills Scholarship. Our pathway opens this to many different training providers. Colleges, we have 4-year public colleges, we have a 4-year private college, we have lots of community colleges, and then we have a lot of variety of proprietary schools and small training programs that may just offer a CNA program. So we really do run the gamut of lots of different opportunities for training providers to offer high needs, high skill area within the state of Michigan. Our program provides up to $2,000 a year in funding for the program. And although, like all the Michigan Achievement programs, students are only eligible if they graduated after into 2023 or after, there is no age limit. So if you do have students who are completing their GED, or maybe they're going through adult ed and getting their high school diploma that way, those students will qualify as soon as they have their qualifying high school equivalency or high school diploma. More information in general about the Michigan Achievement Program can be found on the Michigan Achievement website. So for students to be eligible, again, they've had one thing that did not change is they must graduate from a Michigan high school or get their GED or equivalency. I will note the Michigan high school, we really rely on training providers to validate that information. Our software provides information about high school graduation, but we require our training providers to grab a copy of the high school diploma or a copy of the GED information for our participants. Additionally, online high schools, we really do require that you look and make sure it is a valid high school diploma. Most online high schools that are a little questionable are out of state. So the good news is if you do have someone who has an online high school and you're questioning it, the first thing to ask is if this is a high school diploma, is this business out of Michigan? And if it is, and you still have questions, email us and we'll kind of help workshop if we think it's a valid high school diploma or not. Michigan Virtual is a completely valid high school diploma in the state of Michigan. I'm not saying there's not online high schools that are, totally appropriate, but there's a lot that aren't. And a lot of the questions we get are from the students who are purchasing something out of state that probably isn't the equivalent of a high school diploma. GED, same thing. We do need you to kind of make sure that the information is, if it's the GED certificate, that it has that it's embossed, that it has, the things that would make it valid. You all probably do that. Our programs skew to the health career sides, and health career programs, for different certifications are also required to collect and validate these things. So we're probably, preaching to people who know more about this than we even do. But I just thought it'd be a good time to give that reminder. Additionally, not only do students have to have their high school diploma or GED after 2023 or beyond, they must also not have an associate's degree or bachelor's degree. So keep that in mind. They're asked that on the Reconnect or the Michigan Achievement Skills Scholarship application. But if students talking and they say that they have an associate's degree, we do expect you to kind of follow through on that and make sure you're not certifying students who already have a degree. So again, it's one pathway. It is part of other, the other big Michigan Achievement Scholarship, Community College Guarantee Scholarship package. And so that has some implications. For our program, students cannot receive the Skills Scholarship in the same academic year as the Michigan Achievement Scholarship, which they get at the four-year schools, or the Community College Guarantee. So that is something that has been something that has been problematic for our training providers in the past. So we will be kind of emphasizing that again and again. What I recommend for all training providers is to ask your student, maybe even ask them to sign something saying, I understand I can't receive this scholarship in another scholarship, or I tell you I'm not attending another school. If you have questions or if you have concerns, or if you'd like us to look into it, always reach out to the state and we can check with another school. But kind of keep that in mind. That is an important feature of this program that really does come into play. If a student selects your training on their Reconnect or Michigan Achievement Skills Scholarship application, they will be moved to your roster. And then once they're on your roster, and this is a change from last year, the student themselves can't change to something else. Only, the agency can do that. So do keep that in mind. We did try to make it a little harder for students to be moved back and forth, but the reverse is also true. And so, if a student does their FAFSA and they, our program doesn't require FAFSA, these other scholarships do, that student then ends up at the other school, you'd have to reach out to us to move them to your roster. And at that time, we'll, kind of look and make sure that they're not receiving the scholarship at another college. So in order to be an eligible career training provider, we do have kind of two things we need to look at. The first thing is your program needs to be listed on the Michigan Talent Connect website. We've already gone through that process and downloaded that list. We've already reached out to the eligible health career programs. And now next week, we're going to reach out to the eligible non-health career programs. If you have since changed and your program wasn't listed and has existed for more than a year, we're also going to let you, with the email that goes out with this webinar, let you know that you can submit a supplemental review form for programs that have since been added to the Michigan Talent Connect website. As long as they've been in existence for more than a year, as long as they meet the other criteria, we'll take a look at them and see if we can still add them for this current year. So in addition to being on the Michigan Talent Connect website, programs also have to meet legislative requirements. For health career program, that means high need in the state of Michigan. And so if you're high need health career program, you don't have length restrictions and you don't have clock hour restrictions. For non-health career programs that are listed on the Michigan Talent Connect website have to be between 8 and 15 weeks. So for that supplemental review process, we ask if your program is on the Michigan Talent Connect and it's less than 8 weeks or greater than 15 weeks, please do not submit for supplemental review. Those are hard, fast deadlines and kind of built into the legislation. And so we cannot approve programs that are shorter and longer if you're not in the health career field. Same thing with clock hours. Has to be between 150 and 600 clock hours unless you're a healthcare career. Just saying that now because we do get most of our supplemental review programs are just too long. And so if you are looking to add additional programs than what we've said are eligible, do make sure the length, if they're non-health career, is correct. If they're health career programs, make sure that the Michigan Talent Connect website identifies your program as not being new. So there's a field when you go out and you look at your program, it says new program. If it says yes, you can't participate in our program this year. So you got to be on the Michigan Talent Connect, then you got to meet the length criteria, or if you're a health career program, be in a high need field, in order for us to have vetted through you and said, yep, you're eligible. If for some reason you weren't on Michigan Talent Connect when we looked, you will be able to submit a supplemental review form next week. We'll look into it, see if your program is now on there and eligible, and then we'll add it again this year. If you're a non-health career program, we haven't notified you yet of what programs are eligible. We'll be sending that out next week. We do have an update on the timeline. So because this rollover process requires multi-agencies at the state to coordinate, and that really also got slowed down by the budget really passing at the last minute, we've determined that we need to shift our timeline for when we switch over our programs. So at this time, our 24-25 programs, the programs that were eligible last year, are still listed on our website. And what we're allowing for is through students who begin in those programs through December 15th can get the scholarship still. So if you had a program that was eligible last year and isn't eligible this year, that's okay. If you've enrolled some students September, October, November, or up into December 15th, you can still certify them for payment, and as long as you do it by the January payment deadline. If your program was eligible last year, is not eligible this year, students who start after December 15th cannot receive our scholarship. So we will work in December to try to, it's pretty, it's got a nuance to it. So we will try to reach out to those training providers whose programs were eligible last year and are not going to be eligible this year. But like I said, we will let you participate in the scholarship program through December 15th. That's also going to be a permanent change. Our programs are no longer going to try to, reflect the state budget year, which is October through September, because it's taking too long to roll the programs over with all the data that we need to make sure our programs meet the legislative requirements. So when we do approve your programs for this 25-26 academic year, your programs will be eligible through December 15th of 2026. So some good news is feeling comfortable that you can, your September students, your October students, your November students of next year, if your programs were deemed as eligible for 25-26, they will continue to be eligible through December 15th of 2026. So just wanted to let everybody know that. I know that's a little confusing and it's a little different, but it does give a larger runway for your programs to sit on our website, and allows us to actually represent the length of time it takes us to change out those programs. So just kind of a heads up, you must keep your information accurate on the Michigan Talent Connect website. So do make sure that in August, in July and August, you are updating. We will still be pulling the list in September because it takes us months to get the data. So if you do not do the annual update through the Michigan Talent Connect website, you may lose eligibility next year. So very important that you keep your programs on the Michigan Talent Connect website. Opting in. So we sent out the opt-in form to the eligible health career programs. If you didn't get it back to us in time, do it. We'll still accept it. We're sending that same opt-in form to the non-health career programs next week. And so we will, if you're opting in, we'll still, no problem, we'll take you this year. If your program, like I said, wasn't eligible and you've since updated it so it's on the Michigan Talent Connect website, you'll also have access to the supplemental review form, and make sure you fill that out so we can look at any programs that have since become eligible because you've added them to the Michigan Talent Connect website. New this year, so this is another thing we'll be working on in the next couple months, and we may not have all colleges in by December 15th or by January. So you will be asked at some point. We are going to focus on the non-financial aid training providers first, those who don't get federal financial aid, and then kind of work our way to everybody. But we're going to ask for your program costs. We're going to ask for what are you charging students this year? What did you charge students last year? And what did you charge the students the year before? So we do want to make sure that our program isn't affecting costs for students, and that our costs, that the state is being certified, our scholarship is being certified for the actual cost of the program. So do know we will be asking for that information. We'll have some sort of template. So we'll send it from the mass-myleap@michigan.gov email address. But that's one more request that we'll be asking of you. But we're going to roll that over the next couple months, and we'll eventually ask. And when you do, just go ahead and reply. If you are an eligible training provider and you haven't done this already, and we've had a lot already do this, particularly the health career programs, you will need to submit a MySSG security access form. If you're a new training provider, we also have to add you to the scholarship software and to our skills application. But training providers who had programs last year or the year before, we just need the security access form, and that will continue your access to MySSG. And new training providers will need this form, and will need to create a profile for you in our software. So new training providers will get information about MySSG in the next couple weeks. Returning training providers, this will just keep you in the system so you have no disruption. It's a good time to look and see who your users are. If anyone's no longer with your institution, make sure you remove them. And if you have new financial aid folk who are going to be awarding our scholarship, make sure they get added for this year. Also, please look at the email address that you send it to. We have close friends in our Office of Higher Ed Student Access side and department, but they work in a different department than we do. And so they actually are the ones who grant access to MySSG. So they're the ones who actually need your security access form. If you're not sure, look at the form. It has the email address that you need to send it to. And you can always, email it to our email address as well. But we really do want you kind of using their email address so we don't accidentally miss it or assume that they got it as well. So just a quick tip there. So once you have opted in, if you're a new training provider, we have to create that profile for you. So once we receive that MySSG security access form, we're now in the process of creating those new profiles. You will get an email with inviting you to log in. So that's how you know you have access. It's also how you know you have been added to the Michigan Achievement Skills Scholarship application. If you have students who are interested now in your new training provider, just have them select somebody else on the application. And once your profile's ready, we can move students who are in your programs to your roster if you need. If they're already in the system, they did the application, and now it's just a matter of making sure that you can certify them. This is just yet another reminder about the Michigan Talent Connect annual update. I know with all the deadlines that can get really confusing. This is really important that you update your information on Michigan Talent Connect. If you have any questions about your profile or the information that you're providing about your program for Michigan Talent Connect, that is a different agency. And so this is their email address. please email them. They can be very helpful. As when it comes to the Michigan Talent Connect website, we are not as helpful, but we will probably forward you to this email address. So just wanted to note that. So billing and payments. Keep a couple of things in mind. Students must attend to earn the scholarship. So one thing that we are going to be a little stricter on is ensuring that students are attending before you certify payment. So please note, students must attend for 3 weeks before you can request payment from the MySSG system. We call that certifying. If your program is less than 3 weeks, they have to complete it. And so if it's 10 days, on the 10th day after their last hour, you can then certify them in MySSG. You can only certify them for tuition costs. You can only certify them for tuition costs. We want to be really clear about that, and that is something we are currently monitoring with select few training providers. And what monitoring means is we're asking you to provide documentation to us to show us that it's only a tuition charge. If in the past you've use this funds or you've had other charges on the student account. Someone had asked us about, we have a supplemental tutoring module that students can sign up for. If it's not tuition, you cannot use our scholarship. We allow you to certify up to $2,000 or the tuition cost of your program, whichever is less. If during monitoring we discover that you have certified a student for more than your tuition costs, we will recoup those funds. So kind of keep that in mind. We don't want anyone to put anyone at risk. And so making sure that you certify the correct amount initially will make sure that there won't be any need to recoup. Additionally, if we find out you can't provide documentation that the student attended, we will also need to recoup the funds. If we find out that you charge our students a different rate than students who don't have a scholarship, we'll have to recoup those funds. So we don't want that to happen. We don't want anyone to be in that situation. So please, just kind of keep that in mind. Make sure that the student attends and that you have a good record. A homework assignment with the date stamp within a system where they say that they attended. If it's an online module, if they come in and they sign their name, a picture of the sign-in sheet for each day. Those are ways that we can prove that the student attended. For the tuition charges, again, we need to see its tuition, and we need to see that this is what you charge the student and this is what our scholarship paid. And so if you are unable or don't have record keeping that can do that, it may not be in your interest to do our scholarship because the state of Michigan will look at monitoring, and then we are looking at recouping funds that are we can't document or prove, went to an eligible student, to eligible charges as well. So just want to keep that in mind. If you have any questions, let us know. But that's going to be kind of a key for this program, making sure that we can document everything. We pay monthly for this program. So the second Wednesday is usually when that payment file comes to me, and I look at it and make sure everything's good. And then a couple of days later, it goes through. That means any student who's certified the Tuesday before the second Wednesday. So in November, that's anyone who's certified by 5 p.m. on November 11th, we will create a payment file for those students on the 12th. And then same thing the next month. So if you have a student who begins today, you won't be able to certify them in November because they wouldn't have attended for 3 weeks, but you will be able to certify them in December. So as soon as those 3 weeks are over, you can go in and certify them, and we'll pay that second Wednesday. So it is going to be a monthly payment. You do have to wait till the student attends for 3 weeks, but once you certify that student, whatever second Wednesday of the month comes next is when you will get the payment for that student. So we kind of noted that it would, last year we were able to begin in October with our payments because of the lateness of the budget. We did have to push that to November. And so next week we will have our first round of payments for students who have been certified. Just want to also highlight students who attended programs last August, last July, last May. If their program could have been certified last year, you can't certify them this year. So we do have an end of the year state fiscal budget issue. And so if you had a student who attended last May and you just didn't get to certifying them, you cannot certify them this year. So they have to have attended September, October, November. I know that there were some issues with students getting the scholarship at another school. And so then some training providers were waiting for this academic year. Nope, it really needs to represent the time frame a student went to your school. And then again, just want to keep in mind, you cannot certify students until they meet the attendance requirement. If we run into the same kind of issues we did last year, where we had lots of training providers having certified students and then letting us know, oh, the student didn't attend, we may need to remove access. So just kind of a heads up, we are going to be a little tougher on that this year because we had so many issues. Student information in MySSG, just when you through the MySSG system, you'll be able to look up students in a couple different ways. I'll go over I have a visual for this in an upcoming part of the slide. But if you're unable to find a student, oftentimes there's lots of reasons. They picked a different training provider, either on accident or they did it initially and now they want to go to your school. It could be that they did the skills application, but on their FAFSA, they had a different school. Our program does not require FAFSA, but our software system has FAFSA fields. And so, that can interact. If you can't find a student, please reach out to Don and I. Please do, or to that. And you can find us by emailing mass-mileap@michigan.gov. Please never email us a social security number. So if you're having an issue trying to find a student and their name is, John Hall or something, where we're going to have a lot of students, give us a call in that kind of situation so we don't have any unfortunate information going back and forth. One kind of really important thing about this academic year, so the state has our state fiscal year goes from October 1 through September. That means in order for students to get paid, we have to have any student who attended, through September 8th. So they would have had to attend 3 weeks before September 8th, has to be certified for you to get a payment for that student this year. We'll be going out, that's the last day. Then the next academic year, if they start in September, October, November, they can get paid out of future money. But for the money we've been appropriated this year, students have to begin 3 weeks before September 8th, and you have to certify them by September 8th. If you do not, you will not receive payments for those students. We did have a couple, institutions that happened to last year, so we're trying to be early in the you must certify students by September 8th to get funding this year. Things that you need to keep in mind, we do have a state programs and procedures manual, which there is a Michigan Achievement Skills section. We do expect that you read through it and kind of understand the information that's on there. If you have questions, we totally understand. It's kind of a complicated program. You're always welcome to reach out to us. You must keep a copy of the student's state-issued driver's license or ID, and you must keep a copy of their high school diploma or GED. When we go to monitor you, we will ask for these 2 items. So please make sure that you have a way to keep records for those and store them. We also will need you to document how you're billing and charging the student, how we know it's tuition we're paying for, and some sort of attendance or participation record. There are lots of issues with our program. It is a difficult program because it works with those other state scholarships. And so if a student is not on your roster, send us an email. If a student's already receiving the scholarship somewhere else, they can't receive Michigan Achievement Skills Scholarship and the other Michigan Achievement Scholarships in the same year. So you won't get reimbursed. So keep that in mind. If you have any concerns that a student may be going somewhere else, or the student, you saw them do the application, but they're not on your roster, make sure to reach out to us. We don't want anyone to, we know it costs you all money to get uniforms or books to that student. We don't want you losing any money, because our software didn't put them on your roster. So if you have any questions, do reach out to us and confirm that student is eligible. One thing that our MySSG system has is high school completion data, and sometimes it has it and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes it has the wrong date. So in the event that you have a student who was supposed to graduate in, 2018 and through adult ed and actually got their high school diploma in 2024, you're going to collect that diploma information. And there is a way to update that in our MySSG software. And our manual, the MySSG Michigan Achievement Skills Manual, actually has directions on how to make those updates. Obviously, reach out to us. It's complicated the first time, and we'd be happy to clarify you. Um, so the other issue is we release next year's application for the Skill Scholarship in March. So that means students will get to pick between 2 academic years, and they often pick the wrong one. So another thing is to kind of make sure if you have a student who's beginning before September, that they do the 25-26 application. Come March, they'll be able to do the 26-27 application. So sometimes we have students who are just doing the wrong application, and they can just do it again. But it takes some sleuthing to figure that out, so you're always welcome to reach out. One thing I did want to kind of switch and do, so I'm going to stop sharing here for just a quick second, and I'm going to go out to the SSG manual. And it pulled up here really quickly, and then I'll reshare my screen. So on our website, and when we send out this recording, we have a manual that actually kind of does print screens of my SSG, which I find very handy. And actually, I'm a former financial aid administrator. And so this is what I used in order to figure out how to do these programs. If you haven't done it in my SSG before, it's not intuitive. It really is. You have to learn where things are listed. And so this gives you all the screens, and a kind of narrative of how to get to things and why. So they have a nice little walk you through how to certify a student, walks you through how to find a student on your roster. It walks you through, the different kind of, how you can put the right amount in there, how you can save it, where you can put, that if you want to reduce the award because maybe the student got another scholarship, it explains how to do that. So this little manual is quite helpful, and can kind of help you reorient yourself with when you log into MySSG. Don and I both did financial aid and state programs, and we both remember logging into MySSG and being like, where? And this really helps, walks you through exactly where to find things. So I just wanted to show you that it really is print screens of what the scholarship software looks like, and is quite helpful. And if you walk through it, I think it does a really good job of showing you, what you need to do. That being said, you can always call, especially new training providers. We know it's not easy, particularly the first couple of times through. So feel free to shoot us an email to ask if you have any questions about that. Last thing, as I kind of mentioned, we do. Am I showing my screen down, or am I showing the PowerPoint screen? I think I'm showing the right screen. So reporting and retention, just kind of keep in mind that, you by participating in our program, we are the state. The state has the authority to evaluate and program review our programs. So that is one exception to FERPA. And it is in the statute that in order to participate in our program, you must respond to all data requests. So we do monitor a couple training providers every month. So if you get notification, and we've had great participation so far, we will ask you to upload some documents, the ones that I've been talking about that we would ask for throughout this presentation. The document upload, it's kind of a slow slog. We will give a pretty aggressive deadline, and if you have any issues, feel free to reach out to us. Because there's so many of the different training providers, we will often reach out to you and say, hey, let's meet. Tell us how a student goes through your program, just so we can kind of orient and not have to kind of ask a billion questions. In some instances, we may want to come on site as well. So, just kind of keep that in mind now that we're kind of out of the COVID, everything's online. We may want to come visit and look at your institution and kind of look at how you're doing your records there as well. So just wanted to let you know it's important to retain the records, particularly the ones related to student eligibility. And then when we request them, get them to us in a timely manner. If we request documents and there's a lot of back and forth and we're not getting the documents, that may result in termination of the program for any training provider. And then lastly, on our website, we have a digital toolkit. And so there's some posters and cool looking students happy to get this scholarship. You're welcome to use that material. You're welcome to print it off and co-brand it. We want to enroll as many students as possible. In our first year, we awarded about $250,000. Last year, we did over 4 million. We have 10 million, so we have plenty of room to grow this program. So we do want to make sure that you are all utilizing it, and that we are making sure students' tuition portion is paid who qualify. And then again, there's our email address. Please feel free to email us with any of your questions, particularly if you're having issues with any students not showing up on your roster. Important dates. Oops, didn't update this from this year, so we'll just move on to any questions. So I will stop sharing my screen and I'll pull up the Q&A. It does look like we have, Don's been going through with questions this whole time. Thank you so much, Don. Anyone else have additional questions? And I think you can come off mute. So if you just wanted to come off mute and ask your question, you're more than welcome. Or feel free to keep putting them in the Q&A as well. All right. Well, no one enjoys an awkward silence more than me, but it doesn't seem like we have any more questions. So just moving forward, next week, we're going to send out this recording with a supplemental review form. If your program wasn't on the Michigan Talent Connect website and you weren't invited to, and your program wasn't one of the programs that was identified as being eligible, you can submit it through that supplemental review form. If it's a non-health career program, please make sure it is between 8 and 15 weeks and 150 and 600 clock hours. You'll notice that's the same definition as workforce Pell. So that those numbers are a little more in commonplace now. If you are a health career program and you didn't opt in, you can still opt in. We'll still take you. It's totally fine. And then if you're a non-health career program, we're going to send out the notification emails the beginning of next week of which of your programs are eligible. And within that email, we'll also put the supplemental review form if a program that you think should be eligible isn't listed. For the most part, those are going to be programs that were not on the Michigan Talent Connect site after the kind of August rollover of programs. All right. Doesn't look like there's any other, one more question maybe. If we add an additional curriculum to our program, could the students use a scholarship for that program as well? So it just kind of depends. We look at programs on the education training, on the Michigan Talent Connect website. So if you add a new program to the Michigan Talent Connect website, it's going to identify it as being a new program. And new programs are not eligible if they haven't been in existence for over a year. So it won't be eligible until it has been in existence for a year. If you have a program that's already out there and you're just adding another week to it and you're updating your information on the Michigan Talent Connect website, submit that through the supplemental review form. As long as it's still the same program and it still meets the criteria, I don't think that would be problematic. But what I do worry is old data will get posted instead. So, do the supplemental, make those changes right away, and then fill out that supplemental review form. Yeah, Shannon, we can add financial aid. I'll just, because it's a manual poll, because it's not actually our list, it's the list from the Michigan Talent Connect website. I'll just pull my list of directors, so all the financial aid directors will be on there. And then you can, if you'd be willing to forward it out to your people in your office. It's not an opt-in list because it's only for those, we have to filter through a whole bunch of programs. So we'll just add we'll add all the financial aid directors at community colleges. Cool. All right. Well, thank you all very much, and appreciate you.